Hello, hello, good afternoon, good evening. Finally, we're here. We are just getting started. Unfortunately, we had started and we lost all the connections, but technology, we can always overcome it. And we are using different links. So I'm hoping I can share with you again the links where we are so that you can be able to join us here live. We are on different platforms. We just use a quick link to get live. So I'm going to share with you some of the links so that you can start joining us as well. And we are very excited because our guest is here. I was worried whether we're going to make it because things were looking quite busy, but technology is there for us to win it. So I'm going to share with you a new link so that you can join us through here. And anyone who is listening now, you can use that. I'll put it also on the WhatsApp chat to share with your friends as well. Some of them are on from the YouTube channel. You can use that as well. I'm sharing that with you right now. And I'm excited because we have our guest here. Let me share with you on the comments so that you can see as well and share with other networks. And if any of my team is there, please help me to share it out so that we can have everybody joining. And we have new links, just know that. And I'm excited because the topic today is all about AfCFTA. I know I have been talking to you quite a lot about AfCFTA, and I made you recite the AfCFTA all the time. And today we have somebody who is going to come and give us more detail, especially of the Guided Trade Initiative, GTI it's called nowadays. We hear GTI mentioned, it's Guided Trade Initiative under AfCFTA. I'm excited because the topic for today will be very, very interesting. We'll cover quite a lot. Get your friend, gather up, and we can be able to share with you. I'm going to try to get the Facebook page as well, but I've shared with you the YouTube one. You are there with us connected. We're also on Facebook, if you know our platform, Africa Women in Trade. We're also live there as well. We're also on Twitter. I can see here. We are also on LinkedIn. Yes, we are on LinkedIn as well live, and I'll be able to share with you later on as we are going on. But I'm excited because we have a guest here. We've been waiting for the whole month, literally since last month. We wanted our guest to be here, and we're going through Easter, right? And now Easter is over. We're here now. So today we are going to talk about the Guided Trade Initiative aims to test the operational, institutional, and regional environment of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. So the session will be entitled along with a lot of things, and we'll go through the quick overview of the AfCFTA, with introduction to the Guided Trade Initiative, and then we will go to the readiness for participation in the products, and then the countries, yes, because we have specific countries that will be under this guided trade, and of course more and more are coming. And then we'll do Q&A session where you can ask your question. Please feel free to join us because this will be a very interactive way. But with much further ado, let me add here my guest, Jacinta, from the other side of the world. How are you? How is Kenya?
Fine, thank you. Oh, Kenya is very wet, very wet.
I was
Yes.
scared about the internet, whether you make it, it's raining, but you're all safe and sound.
Thank you for having us, and thank you. Sorry that my background is a little bit dark, but I needed to make sure that I have good power supply. So thank you very much, Joy. Thank you, everybody who has managed to log in from whatever part of the world. Welcome on board. So good evening to those of you in the East African the East African part of the continent. Those that are in Joy's time zone, I'm sure it's in the afternoon. So a good afternoon to you all. And those of you in the West, I'm sure it's a bit late morning. So good morning. And I think this is very exciting. And thank you for logging in on a Friday. It's not easy. You'd rather be doing something else. But the consistency with which you have made this something that you owe yourselves is absolutely impressive. So I'm happy to be here. And I think without further ado, we can
Yeah,
begin, Joy.
before we get started, I know you're ready to start. Your PowerPoint is ready, your power lady. I can't even moderate because all that is part of you. You can run the show and run with it. But let me and invite everybody else to then let's build up those numbers. Let's make sure we are involved. Tell us where you're listening us from. I can see a few of you are joining slowly. I can see nice to hear from you, hear from Milka, from UK. Nice to have you on board. Yes, we have diaspora here on board as well. We're very keen to hear about all these AfCFTA and where they come in as well, because it's so important. Myself, I'm a diaspora, and I'm excited to know what the guided trade has for the diaspora and how can we trap in on that scope. So you are also invited as well. Let me know where you're listening us from, and give us also share with your people. It's all the topic today is very, very rich, as you had. We're going to talk about the guided trade, the processes, and don't be left out. We are registered at the moment. I can see we are on LinkedIn. We are on we are also on Facebook. We are on Facebook. We have two profiles. That is the main page and the group. And I'll be checking out your questions there as well. And also we are on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel and also X. That was the former Twitter that we used to use before, and we still have it there. So we are very engaged here. So it's gonna be an engaging. And I'll be pinning up some of those points whenever she mentions something, and you want to know whether you can be I mean how connected you'll be with those topics, so that you don't forget some of them. But we have also a PowerPoint presentation, so if you don't catch up everything right now, you can watch it later. It will be recorded on YouTube as well. So welcome, Madam Jacinta. And
Thank you.
stage is yours now. The people are ready. But just before that, always forget to introduce myself. I always assume everybody knows me. So my name is Joy Zenz, the founder of Africa Women in Trade. We are a platform where we connect women and youth from all over the world, and especially from Africa. We have members. You can be a member with us, and you want to read more, you can check on our website. We have a website, www.africawomenintrade. You can also join us as a member, because we are very, very vibrant group that is very action driven. We want to see you move from aid to trade. Yes, from aid to trade. We want to see changes happening in your product, helping you from step to step. And we have four main pillars, just to overview. We have information sharing, what we are doing today, and we also have a market access, which is our biggest one. We want to make sure that you have markets, and we have webinars to do that as well. And then we also have the investment and trade and investment and funding, where you can get a lot of support, and also capacity building, which we'll be following up from here and more. I can see we are joined here by Winnie Maru from Nairobi. Yes, wet Nairobi. Yes, we hear that it's raining. Farmers are might be rejoicing. I really hope some of them are rejoicing for the rain, because it was waited for. And always pleasure to listen to Jacinta. Welcome as well. So now I can give you the stage. I think now people have known who are in front of them, and I give you the stage to you to get us started as I share your PowerPoint presentation.
Okay. Thank you very much, Joy. And without further ado, I think we'll just jump into it. So, as Joy has rightfully mentioned, once again, very many wet greetings from Nairobi. We have had a bit of a power outage, actually, a very consistent power outage, but now I'm sure things are okay. And this is something she has been harping about for a while, the Guided Trade Initiative, which is simply a component of the bigger agreement of the AfCFTA. And I have simplified it as much as I can, so that anybody who hears it understands how they can plug in and take advantage of this particular component of the agreement. So, Joy, I will ask you to jump into the next slide kindly. Yes. So, our session overview is that we will be looking at, I'll take you back a little bit in terms of regional integration, in terms of looking at our continent. We need an overview of the continent and the regional economic communities that make up our continent. Only then are we able to understand the context of the AfCFTA, and then we will jump right into the guided trade initiative, and then the countries and the products. Okay, now I want us to do a very quick, simple exercise. I like making my presentations very interactive. So from wherever you are, please take 2 minutes. I want you to do something. I want you to Google a map of Africa with all her 55 countries. Could you please do that and bring it up on one of your devices, with your phone or your laptop? Please Google Africa with her 55 countries. 2 minutes. And I think we can see a few reactions if you're able to do that, because that is important. I want you to drop a pin on your own country. So if you're in Algeria, please drop a pin in Algeria. If you're in Ethiopia, drop a pin in Ethiopia. If you're in Zambia, say that is where you are. If you're in South Africa, please do that. You can see I already have my map there, very colorful, with Africa's 55 countries. So I'll sort of give you 1 minute to do that. Let it come up. Okay. Now, I think we're done. Second, the second diagram I'd like you to look for is something we call the regional economic communities of Africa. It looks like something that you see there, the next map. It has, a couple of badges, 8 badges, which should show you the 8 regional economic communities of Africa. There's the EAC, there's COMESA, there's SADC, there's Zenz, there's AMU. If you come up with that, then we can move on. We give you 2 minutes, 1 minute. Okay. Joy, we can move on. Now, there's a reason why I brought that up. Because not too long ago, Africa had 9 communities that were recognized back in 2004. And I have listed them there in a PowerPoint presentation. We had UMA, we had CEPGAL, COMESA, EAC, ICAS, ECOWAS. There was even one called IOC, MRU, and SADC. Now, from that, you can see the state in which each of them was regionally integrated. We start with a free trade area, then we go to a customs union, a common market, an economic union, a monetary union, and finally, a political union. You don't have to cram this. It's just to give you an idea where we are coming from. So let's move on to the next slide. Let's jump 4 years ahead. Currently, between 2018 and 2024, the Africa Union has recognized 8 regional economic communities, and they are as demonstrated on this particular slide. So we have the AMU, which is the Arab Maghreb Union. We have Zenz, which takes care of the countries within Central Africa, and you can see the date of establishment. And then we have COMESA,
Can I ask
established in.
just one
Yes.
second? It's quite
Can
noisy.
you hear me?
Your background is very noisy. Do you have your headphones on?
I do. I put on my headphones.
Okay.
I have my head. Let me.
Oh,
But
sorry
you
to
will lose
interrupt.
you will lose me.
Yes, it's okay. Just go ahead.
It's okay.
Go ahead.
Is that better? I know I'm in. Okay, sorry. So we have currently, as I mentioned, we have the 8 regional economic communities that are recognized under the Africa Union. AMU, the Arab Maghreb in the north, found in the north. Then we have Zenz, which takes care of the countries within the middle of Africa. Then we have COMESA, we have the EAC, the East African Community, we have ECAS, we have ECOWAS, then we have IGAD and SADC. I'll just give you a minute to look at them, because there's something that I want to allude to once you sort of like grasp what these regional economic. And again, please look at the date of establishment. Notice the first column is an FTA, which is the free trade area. The second one is a customs union. The third one is a common market. The second last, we have now. For me, this is the heartbeat of anybody who wants to understand the levels of regional economic integration. The AfCFTA is simply an agreement under the African Union. And if you can see from this particular two charts, it is the lowest level. It is what you call a free trade area. So the AfCFTA is at the level of the free trade area. As you move towards the right, the complexity of integration increases. And as it goes higher, you experience more regional integration. So you have the FTA, then you have a customs union. A customs union, I will give you a very practical example, is like the East African community. That is a customs union. A key characteristic of the customs union is what you call the common external tariff, where the countries within a customs union have a tariff that they charge or they use to levy their duties on anybody that they want to trade with. So that is what we call a customs union. As you go higher, you come now to a common market. Common market, the example at the top of our heads is COMESA. We know COMESA, that is what you see is the common market. We move further and then we come to a monetary union or an economic union. At the top of your head, I think, Joy, go back one slide. Yes. You will have the European Union. The European Union is currently what you call an economic union. Those of you who have logged in from Europe, you know very well that you use one currency, the euro. So you're in the Eurozone. In the Eurozone, you have integrated as far as monetary policy is concerned. So you're there. And then finally, the height of regional integration is a political union. And again, from the top of our minds, the one thing that we identify as a political union is the United States of America, where you have one head of state, one currency, you vote as a bloc, and you make decisions as a country. So you can see how far we have to go from the FTA level. We're preparing ourselves to become a customs union, and then all the way to finally, hopefully, a political union. So that's just a very quick background. Joy, we can move on to the next slide. Now, let us now come to the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. You can see from my headline, I have called it the Africa Continental FTA. It's a free trade area. And what is its objective? It is to create one African market. So if you go back to the map that I asked you to Google, you can see that we have borders. We have political borders that have been erected over a period of time. So what the AfCFTA, in conjunction with the AU, is of course trying to do is to collapse these borders so that we start looking at ourselves as one economy, as opposed to fragmented countries, so that we enhance trade amongst ourselves. Otherwise, we're never going to develop. If we keep operating in silos, the rate of development is actually going to be very minimal. So what has happened to date, there's a barometer right there. You can see 54 countries have already signed the AfCFTA agreement. So far, we have 47 that have ratified and started, they have already deposited their instrument, not 43, they're actually 47. So we have moved very fast within 4 years. I want to make a comparison to Europe. Europe, Joy, you have what? 20, how many countries in Europe right now? Joy, how many countries are in Europe at the
20,
moment?
20, 27, if I'm right.
47.
27.
27. Okay. To get to the 27 countries, it took a very long time, believe it or not. This agreement has been the shortest to be signed anywhere on the planet. For countries to come together that fast, that number of countries, twice the size of Europe. Africa has done what no other continent on the planet has ever done. Come together and said, we are going to trade as one block. So that's a very, very big hats off to our heads of state and to the Africa Union. So we can move on to the next slide, please. Now, the purpose of this presentation is just to narrow down on what the Guided Trade Initiative is all about. I have indicated the date there. It was launched on the 7th of October, 2022. Then this October, by the end of this October, it will only have been 2 years. Okay, so let's move on. 2 years. I think we need to note that date. Now, what are the operational instruments of the AfCFTA? I want you to look at them very carefully. We have the Guided Trade Initiative, which is the yellow circle right there. Then we have PAPs, which you have heard about. Then we have the Automotive Fund. We have the Rules of Origin, a manual, and an e-tariff book. And then we have an adjustment facility. And then we finally, last but not least, have the non-tariff barrier, the removal of the non-tariff barrier. Now, the diagram next shows you the inception of the guided trade and the countries that volunteered to participate. We have Cameroon, Egypt, Ghana, Kenya, Mauritius, Rwanda, Tanzania, and Tunisia. So the people that jumped on board, or rather the countries that jumped on board, as you can see, are indicated there. So let's move on to the next slide. Sorry, I'm moving a little quickly. Let's look at the general objectives of the guided trade. One, as I mentioned, it was launched in Ghana on the 7th of October. It's coming up to 2 years. The GTI is simply a solution-based approach. We've heard of something called proof of concept. So this is a proof of concept. It is intended to achieve its goal of trade through matchmaking businesses and products for export and import between interested state parties. So the 8 parties that volunteered were the ones that I mentioned in the previous slide. I will repeat them in the next slide. Again, the GTI is simply designed to enable the start of trading among interested group of state parties that have been certified as having met the minimum threshold for the start of commercial meaningful trade. The minimum threshold for the start of commercial meaningful trade. I can hear there's a bit of an echo, so I'll go a little bit slowly. Now, I need to remind you about something. Please look at the map of the regional economic communities. Remember, I asked you to get the map of your individual countries, but there is the other map with your regional economic community. So if you're in West Africa, hypothetically speaking, you've logged in from Ghana, you belong to ECOWAS. If you're in East Africa, you're at EAC. What it means is currently, as the RECs stand, we are all guided by the rules and regulations of that regional economic community. So me in East Africa as a trader, if I wanted to trade with ECOWAS, of my sister in ECOWAS, okay, I would have to understand how to export products from the EAC into ECOWAS with different rules and regulations. If somebody is in SADC and wants to trade with the EAC, the rules that apply are different. So the AfCFTA, all it is doing is harmonizing, bringing us all to the same level so that we are not bound by the different rules of the regional economic communities that make it very difficult for the 48, 47 countries to trade amongst themselves. So that is all the AfCFTA is doing. It is simplifying trade at a lower level of integration, which is the free trade area. So if you are at a customs union, you come lower and start trading with somebody in ECOWAS using a free trade area agreement. I hope that makes things very clear, and that is why the map was necessary. And you will see as we move on how the African Union is looking to collapse these regional economic communities. They may not collapse in totality, they're actually building blocks towards integration of Africa as a whole. So you will see how they overlap with each other. So I will reiterate this, it is that the GTI is designed to enable the start of trading amongst interested group of state parties that are satisfied as having met the minimum threshold to begin meaningful commercial trade. So the specific objectives, I have listed them below, is to allow commercially meaningful trade to take place, to test the operational, institutional, legal, and trade policy environment under the AfCFTA. Remember, the AfCFTA is a new agreement, but at a lower level, because most of the other regional economic communities are slightly higher, perhaps. So we are trying to test that environment, the instruments, the institutions that are involved, and the operations under the AfCFTA. We're asking ourselves, we have negotiated the agreement. Can we now operationalize it? The other objective is to send an important positive message to the African economic operators. Because as Africa, we have been told we don't know how to trade amongst ourselves. So this is a very good proof of concept that we are actually willing to embark on this kind of initiative. Okay, so Joy, the next slide, please. So, as I mentioned again, this is just a diagrammatic representation of the objectives of the GTI. Amongst, it's not just to demonstrate the efficiency of the legal framework, but we also want to obtain feedback. So you will start trading under the AfCFTA. So your experience now gets fed back to the Secretariat. And you tell the Secretariat, this is what I experienced at a national level. Because the readiness of Kenya is different from the trade readiness of Ghana. It is different from the trade readiness of South Africa. It is different from the trade readiness of Rwanda. So if I have a product that I want to send to Egypt, I need to contact the Ministry of Trade and I need to contact my revenue authority. Are they ready to facilitate trade under this particular agreement? Do they have the necessary documents? So if I go to any of these institutions and tell them I want to trade under the AfCFTA, under the guided trade initiatives, what is the framework looking like on the ground? As a trader and as a member of the private sector, that experience is what I feed back to the Secretariat. And I tell them, this was my experience, so that they can continue making the process smoother. Again, another objective is to test the readiness of the private sector to participate in trade under the AfCFTA. So what Joy is doing with her team is something absolutely amazing, because she has taken a group of individuals, the women. Are the women, it's for us to ask ourselves as women, are we ready to trade under the AfCFTA? When we look at ourselves, I know we export, we deal with China, we deal with, I don't know, Europe and things like that. But within Africa, the private sector, are we prepared to actually start trading amongst each other? So it's a two-way conversation. The other objective is also to identify future interventions. Things that the Secretariat and the state parties may not have thought about will be picked out under the guided trade initiatives to make sure that trade in the future is smoother. So I hope that is clear. We can move on to the next slide. Okay. All right. So in a nutshell, let us look at the components of the GTI. So I have the two columns, I have the countries and I have the products. So in the north, we had Egypt and Tunisia, which came under AMU. If you remember your regional economic community. In East Africa, we were represented by Kenya and Rwanda. In West Africa, ECOWAS was represented by Ghana and Cameroon. In South Africa, believe it or not, Tanzania is part of SADC. So Tanzania and Mauritius represented SADC. Now, currently, those were the 8 countries as of the 7th of October, 2022. As of last week, when the AfCFTA held its private sector awareness training, it had increased the number of countries participating in the GTI from 8 within the space of, it's not even, I think it's 1.5 years, 1.5. From 8, it has jumped to 31 stroke 33. Because the reason I have put stroke 33 is that with this agreement, things are changing all the time. It's alive. It is real. It is happening all the time. So today, somebody may not have been in the GTI, and tomorrow they're in the GTI. So we will work with a number of 31 to 33 countries that have already joined within the space of a year and a half. That should tell you how fast this agreement is moving into full operationalization. Okay, this is very quick. All right. Now, the initial products will move to the column on the right. The initial products that were traded under the GTI, we had ceramic tiles and we had batteries. We had tea, coffee, and pasta. We had processed meat products. We had cornstarch, we had sugar, we had glucose syrup, we had dried fruits, and sisal fiber. Now, from my last engagement, I'm made to understand that the products have obviously exceeded more than 100. So these were about 12 products or so. Now we have more than 100 products under the GTI. So as you can see, we are moving towards full trade, if you ask me, very fast. Okay, so we can move on to the next. Now here we have the inaugural. I think this is a very famous picture for those of you who have been following the AfCFTA. This was the inaugural consignment that was flagged off from Nairobi to Ghana under the GTI. Kenya sent tea to Ghana on the 5th of October 2022. It was flagged off by His Excellency the President. It was a big deal because finally we are saying we can trade from East Africa to ECOWAS. Okay? We can move product from Kenya across to Ghana. Of course, now this tested the operational instruments and actually the logistics of getting that consignment all the way to Ghana. You've had so many stories about it. but there has been a lot of improvement since this consignment was flagged off. So it is very historic, and it will always go down in history as one of the first big, bold steps when two countries that were not joined by anything came together and actually moved that first step. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Joy. Again, now the tea reached, because you can see people lining up to taste Kenyan tea in Ghana. And they also had product activations in Accra, Ghana. And I also have pictures in other presentations where you have the product lining up the shelves, where now you have Kenyan tea being enjoyed in Ghana. So there is a full array of offerings, um, which was to show the success of the GTI. Okay, so we can move to the next one. Now, as an instrument, please remember that the GTI is an instrument of trying to simplify trade in Africa. In the not so recent past, the first diagram shows you how Africa trades. Africa traditionally does not trade with itself, it trades outside itself. Africa, for a long time, has been seen to be an extractive economy where people come, take raw materials, and go and feed their industries, and then the products come back into Africa being very expensive. So the GTI, the Africa Union, and the AfCFTA is looking to correct this so that Africa starts trading within herself. Now, I have had to borrow a map from another trade route, but this is what we are trying to achieve. That if products are in Cairo, they should be finding their way all the way to the south. If they're in West Africa, they should be coming to East Africa. From East Africa, they should be going to West Africa. So we are trying to enhance the movement of products within the African continent. So these two maps are very key because we're trying to change the narrative so that Africa, starts trading within itself. It will not stop trading with everybody else, but the ideal is that there should be increased intra-Africa trade. Okay, so we can move on to the next slide. I believe this one, yes. So, in a nutshell, I want us to look at the overlapping, how we are overlapped as a continent. Each circle represents a regional economic community. You can see how complex it is. We have several countries being part of several regional economic communities. Let me talk about a country like Kenya. You can see how many concentric circles Kenya is a part of. Kenya is in the East African community, it is in IGAD, and it is in COMESA. Okay? So it is part of three regional economic communities. Let us take an example of who else? Let us take DRC. DRC is in ECAS, as you can see over there. DRC has recently joined the EAC, and DRC is also a part of COMESA. So the AfCFTA is looking to harmonize this kind of arrangement and use the learnings from here to increase intra-Africa trade. Okay, now I have tried to keep it as simple as possible. We get to the end now, which is our last slide, Joy. Now, what is the way forward after all of that? You might be asking yourself, okay, I sort of have understood what the GTI is. Remember, trade can only be experienced at local level. The initiatives must take place at local level. So if you're an individual trader, you must engage your Ministry of Trade. Your revenue authority must also be engaged. But there is also something that we call the National Implementation Committee. You must find out where these people are. because these are the people that will support, or these institutions are the ones that are going to support your ability to trade within the agreement. So my challenge to you is, whatever it is that you experience, you can escalate it to this particular platform because they have a very good relationship with the secretariat. And those kind of experiences are what are collated at continental level and then fed down to the committees at the country level. So if the women within this particular platform want to start trading, make the first step to find out if your country, one, has a national implementation committee. Is your revenue authority aware that you can trade under the AfCFTA? Is your Ministry of Trade, does it have an initiative that is already in place for you to participate within this agreement? If it is yes, no, please put your responses onto the platform, and then Joy and her team can escalate that to the secretariat and say, my woman in Benin is trying to trade, but the mechanisms for her to start participating are not available. Can we do something to fast track that? Or in Kenya, this is happening. We have the documentation is taking a while. Or in Rwanda, everything went smoothly. So it's not just the complaints, but also the compliments, so that we can all learn from each other. So without further ado, I think I would like to conclude our session and take
Yeah.
it back to Joy.
Thank you so much. What sort of a lot of information there, and I'm
I
happy
know,
that
yes.
that people have really engaged and have learned something new. For those ones who are diaspora still wondering what's going on in the continent, we are here to update you, and also those ones who are already there, already wanting to trade. And I can say that whatever Jacinta say can be complemented by AfCFTA, and I'm going to mute you just because of the background noise a little bit. So the and ask your question on the chat. I look at it, but I will be looking at that as well. But I also want to compliment what Jacinta just said, because recently we had the AfCFTA doing a knowledge sharing for once, and there were quite a lot of information there. And if you're a member, if you have registered with us, Africa Women in Trade, we have all the information shared with you. We shared you on WhatsApp, some of us who are in the WhatsApp group, and also through email. We share this information so that you can also listen. It was recorded, and if you're still interested, you can reach out to me. I can share with you those recordings, because they have all these initiatives and programs and also tools. And I would encourage you to go to their website, because their website has a lot of issues. Even like the way Jacinta is saying, if you have an issue in your country, you can even put it up there. They have the ebook. Um, they have a complaint place where you can put all the complaint. If you are doing trade and you got stuck, they're there to help you with that as well. And what I like about it is that the countries, it's because it's actually run by the country itself, so you can check those countries, and I've put for you the countries that are there if you didn't pay attention to that, because there are around 7 or 8 of them, but I had one is on the observer. So we have the Ghana, we have the Rwanda, Kenya, Tanzania, Cameroon, Mauritius, Egypt, and the one with the observer is Tunisia and still there. So if you're one of these countries, you can really get, and I'm talking about major movement of food under zero tariffs. You're not paying a lot of money the way you trade among each other. They guide you very, very hard. And the payments also is very simple, because we have all these banks that are working now with the PAPs. And I've seen that, like EcoBank is one of our banks that I've seen that is working. We had somebody giving out feedback that EcoBank, you were able to send from Kenya with Kenya shillings to Ghana with the CDs, and they receive it in their account, because EcoBank operates around 33. We hope they grow very fast to reach more countries. So making trade and payment within minutes, within less than a day happen when it happens, and which is always a big issue. So we are seeing all these changes, Jennifer, and it's such an excitement to see all this changing in the continent. And we are here to give you, and maybe you can tell us from your view, from Kenya. Which are these? I can see here there's a comment here from Milka here with before I did. Thank you, Jacinta. Very informative. I believe more training is necessary, especially to be able to incorporate the small to medium enterprise. And I have to say, guided trade, especially focusing on the small medium enterprise. Can you mention on that?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Joy. I tried to keep this presentation as simple as possible because there's a wealth of information. And it would be good for anybody that is listening to interact with the AfCFTA website because you can only learn through experience. Now, I like that question for the MSME. This particular agreement is very unique because it covers, it has, maybe you have gone through the previous trainings and not aware, what you might have covered, but there are different protocols that have been negotiated. And there's one very unique one, which is for women and youth. You have definitely heard about the Women and Youth Protocol. Under that, it covers a lot. It has very many unique components where women, the needs of women are actually taken into consideration. For example, I'll give you a very practical one. It is called the Simplified Trade Regime. Okay, Simplified Trade Regime. Now, in the recent, when we are trying to trade in Africa, we know that our customs procedures can be very complicated. So what the AfCFTA has done, it has come up with a certain threshold where your goods, if they are below a certain amount, you should not be charged duty when you're taking them across the border. So it has simplified the requirement for a certain amount of product, which is at the moment $2,000. From where I'm standing, it should be about $2,000. Anything below that, strictly speaking, you
I think you froze there. I think we've just lost her. Yes, as you heard, there's quite a lot of small initiatives that are there to support SMEs. Let me hope that she can be able to join. She's just dropped off. And yes, the questions as you ask, keep asking the question on the chat box wherever you are, YouTube, although even if you're on LinkedIn, we are going to see all these questions as you mention them as you come up. Let me see whether she's able to talk now. Jacinta, can you hear us? Okay, she dropped off. So she's going to join. So these are the information that we want you to get to listen to them right from the start, get to know what is AfCFTA, and we're going to share with you the website so that you can all know how to find it. It's quite it's quite an informative website for those people who want to get to know more. It's under the Africa Union, of course, and very well governed by the policies as well. So let me see whether we can be able to add her here. No, she's not yet here, but you can be able to follow the AfCFTA and you'll have all this information the way it's done. And as I mentioned, I have links where I can share with you as well. You can reach out to me if you're a member, check on your email. We send that information over your email. And you can be able to join as well and get to know more about what is AfCFTA, what is the initiative that's going, so that you're not left out. Jump on the board earlier so that you're part of this much earlier, so that you can start engaging and maximizing all these opportunities. As you heard, GTI, which is the Guided Trade Initiative, was launched in Accra, Ghana on the 7th of October last year. So they're very new. So, and if you have issues of payment, you can easily send money around through the PAPS, and PAPS doesn't work with you directly, they work with the bank. So you need to work with the Pan-African bank like EcoBank, where you can do business transaction from Kenya shillings to Ghana without going to the US or Euro or or China or whatever money that is there in the global market, but now only for Africa. As you know, AfCFTA, we are all campaigning for one market. As far as we hear in diaspora, we are very, very excited. Myself, I'm very excited. That's why we formed the Africa Women in Trade, and we follow very strictly, preparing you, informing you wherever you are. It's gonna take time, I have to tell you. It's not gonna start overnight. It's gonna take time before we finally are able to get it running and smooth and running. Probably we are just in the very, very, very beginning stage. By the time it start kicking off, it will be the biggest market in the world where we can trade among each other. We are the biggest population on this earth, so we can be able to trade among each other easily and move goods among, including services as well. And these I talk about also jobs. You can start now getting jobs from different countries in Africa, so we can also maximize that. So I'm very excited about this topic. Unfortunately, I'm not able to get her back here, but I'm believing you have got all the information. If you have any question, reach out to us. We have our email, africawomenintrade at gmail.com, or you can also reach us on AfWITrade at gmail.com as well. So that's how you can reach us if you want more information about this. And remember, we also have other opportunities where you can get engaged as well in different way. Sorry, that link was not full. Let me give it to full so that you can go Africa Women in Trade .com at gmail.com. So check out on that. Also on our website, see what we are doing. We are happy to actually help you in terms of navigating that. We are working with all our members, most of them, bringing them up to speed to be trade ready. And I'm hope Milka is also there, who can also join us if she has time to join us here on the stage, so that we can share with you more in the future what we can bring you up speed and also trade. We have a lot of products. I mentioned to you, we have internal webinars. So check out on that. And if you go to our website, to become a member is very simple. Some of you are asking how to become a member. How to become a member is registering the africawomenintrade.com. You'll see join, and you'll be taking a process. You can either pay through that process with the maestro, or you can pay direct to our account. You'll be seeing the details there as you join. And once you join us, you get information, all this information we share, and you have a one-to-one meeting with us to get to know where you are, which stage you are, and what products you are in. And we also have a platform. We're encouraging you all to register there. And it's our data where we can see the products. And then whenever we get the market, we can reach out to you immediately. Right now, we have a lot of products. We have buyers here from Europe and also in the continent that are looking for your products, and we are checking how ready you are. Some of you, we have to upgrade you with trainings, especially if you're approaching Europe market. Things are changing here very much. We have trainings for you as well, so that your products are able to reach the standards that are required here. And if they don't reach, don't worry. We also have product markets in the continent as well. As you have seen from Jacinta, some of the products that move from one country to another, and there's quite a lot and very seamless. So make sure that you're also part of this. And the diaspora, how can you take part of this? Probably you're wondering. Yes, be the value addition person to this product. All our members have raw material. Don't forget, Africa have been used as a raw material. So you can be the person to bridge and help improving the product to value added. And from the meeting I had from the AfCFTA, there's a lady there who was from the US, went to Rwanda, opened a company for coffee, and now roasting the coffee and taking the roasted coffee to Ghana, and the vice versa. Ghana also have also powder, and she's also managed to remove the cranberry chocolate and put in the African Ghana cocoa powder. So there is so much you can do once you process. Processing is something we can come in as diaspora. If you are diaspora listening to us, reach out to me. We have already machineries that are ready to go. We can show you products from Germany, of course, where you are as well. Do your research, but reach out to us. We are able to guide you as well, which areas you should be targeting and what works best in the continent. So we are doing all this consultation as well. for you diaspora as you navigate your way in the continent. I can see Jacinta has just joined me as well. There you
Oh,
are. You made it.
wow.
I was worried about
I
that.
wondered what happened.
Yeah, yeah. So
Sorry, I
I
got
was
cut.
talking about the diaspora now that you're in, so that you keep people. How can the diaspora benefit from the AfCFTA, especially the GTI?
Now, let me. Do you mind if I go back to the previous question
Yes,
because it cut
yes,
me
yes. Go
midway?
ahead, go ahead.
let,
Yes,
let,
go ahead.
let me finish on the MSMEs because I think that is very important. I'll start talking about the simplified trade regime, whereby there's a certain threshold of products that are moving across the border, especially for the women who are conducting cross-border trade. Okay, I know there is a lot of training that needs to be done about this so that you know how to leverage. More often than not, the cross-border trade participants have smaller quantities, of products. So the guided, under the AfCFTA, there's a provision for that. So for the women and youth, there is something that they can take advantage of as they continue to grow their businesses. So that particular space caters for the MSMEs because the majority of the people trading within the African continent, 70% of the MSMEs are actually women and youth. So that is taken care of in that. And now you're asking me the second question. I hope I have answered Milka's question in terms of the diaspora.
Yes, yes.
I
We are
think
here, we are
I
listening.
would
Keep
like,
it there
yes,
for us.
yes, I would love to applaud Joy and this particular platform because under the Africa Union, the diaspora is actually the sixth region. Okay, it's the sixth region. You're not left out. All right. So being the sixth region, you have the mandate or you have the, I don't want to call it permission, but you have an open door because whether you like it or not, you're still part of us. You're Africans, isn't it?
Yes.
So you come into the continent and participate. Where the difference will come in is your product and what we call the rules of origin and how you have registered your organization. Okay, so you want to take advantage of the AfCFTA, you're an African, you're in the diaspora, absolutely. Where have you registered your organization? If you're in Kenya, for example, who are the directors of that company? Okay, are they Kenyan? Do they have Kenyan nationality? Are they South African? Do they have South African nationality? The mode of registration is very important. Okay, number one. Number two, the product that you're choosing to trade in or the origin of that product. Something that I should have mentioned right at the beginning is that the AfCFTA is trying to move away from the trade of raw materials into value added products. We are very good at avocados, exporting macadamia nuts and things like that. What we are saying is that these monocrops, we should reduce activity around them, which just gets them out of the country in their raw form. We should add value. If it is the avocado, press them, get the oil out of them, create briquettes from the waste. That is the kind of thinking that is behind the AfCFT. If it is macadamia, the same thing. Press the nuts or salt them or dry them and then sell them as a finished product. You can see the tea got to Ghana as a finished product, not in its raw form. It was packaged. So the farmer will get more value. So that is where the challenge is that whatever it is that you're doing, if you want to benefit under the AfCFTA, your certificate of origin has to show that your raw materials, a certain percentage of your raw materials, and I believe it's about 80% of the components that constituted that product should be sourced from within the continent. So I would urge anybody in the diaspora, this is a fantastic time to invest in value addition of the materials that are currently found within the continent. For example, cocoa. figure out a way to add value to cocoa and start selling it in its finished form, not in its raw form. That is what I would now urge people to start thinking about, how to finish the products, and then make sure that the composition of your product meets the minimum threshold. This is just room for more training, and yes, there's a lot that we can do so that everybody can participate. I hope I have in some way answered that question.
Yes, yes, of course. You have really answered quite intensive, because the diaspora in here, they're asking, how do we come in? Do we go now to the farm and start all over again? And I'm the one who's telling them, please, we cannot go farm and already there is enough raw material there. We need to shorten up the value chain and see where are we best stationed to bring in the best. And especially coming in with machineries, like I said, here in Europe, we have a lot of machinery. We have a lot of value addition. We know what is value addition because we go to the supermarkets and we see that. Some of you who don't know what is value addition is what you see already in the supermarkets. Anything in the supermarket you can produce, you can finish a product and bring it straight to the supermarket is value addition. Because a lot of things we mention words and people don't understand it. And I like the simplicity of the way you're explaining things so that people can really understand what it really means to trap into the GTI, especially the AfCFTA. They are doing it very nice. And one of the ladies that I was telling them earlier before you joined was in that meeting, who talked about her it was a diaspora, right, from America, who had her coffee and from Rwanda and brought it to Ghana. And she said training was even less than 3 days in Ghana, and she did a payment to EcoBank within few minutes. It was gone through. She just need to do online. It's done. No tariff, no whatever. The other person received their money in CDs. This is something that is happening at the moment. But I like that, to keep hearing stories like this so that people can see it's really happening now. And as you say, we are still in the beginning, but we can see things moving. So guys, remember again, you can ask your question. I can see there Milka mentioned, yes, value addition is what we want. Yes, exactly. And we are all campaigning on that as diaspora. You can join our team as well. We are becoming very value addition mentality. We are not going to bring anything in Europe, raw material, no green coffee, no powder. Powder is already processed. Okay, we can get away with that, but the rest is we have to bring straight to the supermarket. And how can we do that? And diaspora, as you heard, also, I don't know how much you're informed, Jacinta, the other day that we had a report of, especially like Kenya, the diaspora, the remittance, the money that we are sending there is enormous. It's actually the biggest compared to any NGO, compared to even this product we are sending. It's the biggest amount. And how can we use this money to help the economy of our countries, right? And I like that as well. So I can see here a question coming up. Can you explain more why it matters where we register our business in relation to our citizenship?
Thank you for that. It's a valid question, and I've been asked that several times. Now, you have to understand, I think I tried to bring it up in the beginning. The AfCFTA is an agreement that has been signed by your head of state. Your head of state, out of the 55 African countries, 54 heads of state have signed that particular agreement, meaning they are the custodians. They have taken ownership of that agreement and said, we will implement it. Now, if you're a national of that country, okay, obviously, then you have almost direct, how do I call it, privilege. Sorry, my battery is running out. You almost have direct access to that particular market. But remember, the only person, so to speak, that can trade is what you call a legal person. And a legal person, in this case, what I'm referring to is a company. So, like the lady Joy has mentioned, she lived in the diaspora most of her life, came back, got Ghanaian citizenship, all right, registered her company in Ghana because she has ancestry in Ghana. Though she grew up in the States, she spent most of her adult life in the States, and then has now opened another company in Rwanda where she's able to source her raw material to process her coffee and then trade within the continent. So she has leveraged her ancestry, which is Ghanaian, to register a company that can trade as a legal person under the agreement. So this agreement, remember, is by Africans for Africa. It is by Africans for Africans. So you as an African have, I don't want to call it a privilege, it's almost, it's like, it's your right actually. You have what you call the first advantage over anybody else by virtue of the fact that you are a national, you have a nationality within the continent. That is where your legality, you draw your legality from, okay? Because you're an African. It is the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. So we are trying to get Africans to trade amongst themselves. There's a little wiggle room in terms of, you see, I have said there 80%. Since we cannot source all the material from outside, um, there's about 20% which can come from whichever market. But as much as possible, the whole intention for this particular agreement is to facilitate trade amongst African countries. So that is where the legality comes from. Yeah. I hope I have answered that in some way.
Yes, you've answered quite well there. And the question coming, you guys you're throwing now question, but it's good. But we are winding up because we started a little bit late. That's why we are standing plus the hour a little bit, but it's almost half an hour now. But we are ready for question. But keep throwing there. There's one here, Jacinta. Are you aware of Gulf URDTT? People love abbreviating. Can you really write? If you know it, that's fine. But if not, kindly write what you mean. But although he wrote it again down here, RDTT, whatever that means. But he also mentioned that, Jacinta, are you aware of the Union Rule of Digital Trade Transactions as issued by the International Chamber of Commerce? Okay, there he has elaborated what is URDTT. You're muted.
Please, yes, sorry. Just repeat your question, please.
It says, are you aware of the Union Rule of Digital Trade Transactions as issued by the International Chamber of Commerce? I mean, here you are throwing us international, and I don't know whether that is including the continent, because we are only talking about the continent right now, Galimaria.
Yes.
So, because we are not
Yeah.
talking
Well, let
international
me.
now. But
Yeah.
if you know it, you can go
And
ahead. But right now, we are just talking about the Africa continent.
okay. Now, please remember, as I said, yes, the authority of the AfCFTA comes from the negotiation of the agreement under the state parties that are signatory to this particular agreement. Now, here we're talking about the Chamber of Commerce. The International Chamber of Commerce is a private sector. International Chamber of Commerce is the private sector. The African Union is the government. So when you're asking about issued by, is it a legally binding agreement to the African Union? I doubt it. Because it is the international chamber. The international chamber represents chambers which are representative of the chamber movement, which is the private sector in any government or in any economy. Now, I sit at the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce. That is why I'm familiar with that. When you're looking at the agreement, please go through the different protocols. There is the protocol of goods, there is the protocol of trading services, there's the trading goods, there's the trading services, and there is the dispute settlement mechanism. So that is the first phase. And then there is the second phase, which encompasses other protocols. So I would request the gentleman, and thank you very much for that question, to please look at the agreement in totality and see where the digital trade component falls under. So the question then becomes, are the state parties bound by this particular agreement? I would say I believe not. So this could be what do you call it? It could be a proposal, but I don't think anybody is under obligation to take it up. I believe as the chamber movement, they advise, they support the implementation of initiatives. So the government provides the framework, which is the policy, the private sector now implements. All right. So under the chamber movement, then it would be the chambers at national level that would perhaps be signatories to this particular digital trade initiative. I hope that in some way
Yes, and I think
answered
it's a
that. Yeah.
process. It's a process. It's gonna take time
Yes.
because they're all bringing it together. There is a protocol of digital trade, of course,
Trade
that is
is there.
being prepared. But all these, including the international, meaning the global world, I think that
Yes.
right now it's only focusing on the continent and bringing the structures into place. And then, as soon as I'm sure they're ready, they'll be able to see whether there is a partnership afterwards. But right now, there is a lot of work on the ground, and that's where we are now, seeing how can we tap into that. So thank you so much for sharing all that. So I want to wind up this story with the last parting word, encouragement to those SMEs who are really struggling to get into the trading space, especially those countries that we have mentioned, the five of them, and how they can get guided trade. Where do they, I mean, how you can help them out because they need to start from somewhere. Who is the starting point? Give them also an encouragement as well.
First and foremost, I'd obviously like to thank you, Joy, for putting this initiative together. And for all the participants, anybody who made the time to actually log in, thank you very much. You didn't have to, but you actually did. So thank you for listening to us. And this is the first step towards engagement. As I mentioned somewhere in the middle of my presentation, this agreement is live. It is ongoing. And every day we are experiencing a new phase. Even this question that has just been asked about the chamber, thank you. I will read up on it, definitely. And in case there is any correction to any comments that I may have made, I will definitely pass them on to the platform and make Joy share them with everybody else. So I just spoke at the top of my head. Now, as an encouragement, what I would say is start small. Take the first step. And the first step, as I mentioned, is interact with the AfCFTA website and platforms such as this, where you find like-minded people who want to take advantage of such a big initiative. It is a historic initiative and it is moving at a very accelerated pace. So the first step is engagement, interact with the website, interact with like-minded people. But the other thing, try in your small way to move product in whatever form, whatever it is that you have. Start small things like product consolidation. If you find at the Africa Women in Trade, there is somebody who has honey in maybe 100 kilos, and maybe somebody else, and you have an order for 500 kilos. Find people so that you do aggregation, product aggregation, so that you can meet your order. You understand? So if you have those kind of inquiries, find ways in which you can consolidate your product and meet the demand. And then now start learning how to move product across the continent. As you have seen from the maps that I have shared, it is not easy to move logistics and otherwise to move across the continent. But unless we scale and increase the number of transactions that we conduct on a day-to-day basis, then we will not be doing anything. So for me, one, engagement. Secondly, it is only experience that can teach. Engage your revenue authorities, engage your national implementation committees, and engage the Ministry of Trade. If you get a roadblock, please escalate the matter to a platform such as this, and then the Secretariat will take it up, and then things should start moving. But do not stop just because you found a barrier. If you do find a barrier, please report it on the AfCFTA website. That concludes my encouragement. I'm also about to go off. And thank you very much for participating. Thank you very much. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
To myself. Sorry about that. I think I was talking to myself. So thank you so much for everyone who have been here, and I've shared with you a link and where you can follow up all about the AfCFTA website. I'll put it on your chat. I hope you can hear. We can't hear you, Joy. Okay, yes, now I think you can hear me. I was muted. And thank you so much for your time, Jacinta. We appreciate your time coming here. We'll be calling you again. And if you need the support one-to-one, reach out to us. Our email info at Africa Women in Trade at gmail.com. AfricaWomenInTrade@gmail.com. That's where you can reach out to us. And from there, we can be able to follow up with your issue. Register to be a member, as I mentioned. It's so important when you work with us so that you know where you are in, and you have these things you want to send somewhere to somewhere else. Reach out to us, all members who are in our platform. We can easily help you with those ideas so that you can get the right information from who. And then, as I always say, your network is your net worth. Count AfWITrade as your network, because we are here to help you to trade. That is the main idea of us diaspora. That's the only thing we can do as diaspora from far, to help you to trade and show you where these places are, because they are all out there. They're being shared, but the information doesn't reach you. And having a knowledge sharing like this one today is especially for that. Thank you so much, Jacinta. I'm going to let you go so that you can move on to the next. And thank you for your time. And you'll be coming back again with more detailed information in a smaller webinar as well. For those people who want more
Yeah.
information, we'll come back with you with that as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, all of you, for your active participation, and all the best as we trade amongst ourselves. Take care
Thank
and enjoy the weekend ahead. Bye.
Thank you
Bye.
as well. Bye. So yeah, so that's our Jacinta. She has been a very informative lady, and I've been working with her for some time, and you're looking forward to learn more how we can all move as this vehicle is moving. Not to be No one should be left behind. If you're a trader and you have goods and you're looking for markets, and you're always looking Europe, but now they're even closer to you with less costs. That's the whole idea. We are here. So well done as well. I can see I mentioned here. Thank you so much. This is recorded. You can always listen to it again. We had the presentation. Have a look at them, and we are happy to hear from. Thank you so much. Just to give you an overview as well of what Africa Women in Trade, we have a small announcement for you. And because we wanted to host the AfriTrade in Ghana, we had already decided to do this year, but unfortunately we have to postpone. We have to postpone to next year. It's sad, but that's the way it's gonna be. But we are not sad, because now we have even more time to get you prepared. We didn't want to rush you too much. So the AfriTrade Expo is going to happen in 2025. But we have other ideas that are coming in. If you're in coffee, you're in chocolate, reach out to us. We have an expo that is coming up this year that we are partnering together with another organization. So we'll be giving you up more information on that. We'll be very specialized working with those two products on this year. And we have markets for you. We have places for exhibition, and we have quite a lot happening on the ground, the continent. So AfWITrade, the Africa Women Trade Expo, we were planning to plan in Ghana this year. Because of different reasons, we have postponed it to 2025. So you have enough time to have yourself prepared and be ready to come and trade in Ghana. Please come prepared to come and showcase. By the time we go to Ghana, you know what products you need to bring to Ghana, and do business as well. That's all about. And also take Ghana products to your country as well, and do business as well. That's what we want to see of the product of Africa Women in Trade. So keep preparing yourself. We'll be helping you towards that area as we get closer to the date. We'll be giving you more details of when it's going to be, probably to be around September, towards the end of the year next year. So keep out on us. If you want to sponsor us, it's not too late. Join us on board as well. And also diaspora, please jump over the board. Come and see another country, not always your country. You always think your mother is the best cook. meaning your country, maybe you need to see other countries and see how you can do business there as well. So thank you so much for your time, and see you again next month. We will be having more internal. We keep swapping. We have sometimes internal with our members and one time public when we feel the information is for everyone. But the next one will be focusing on the market access. We have products, we have buyers who are looking for products, and we want to reach out to you. So we'll be having that internal meeting with the members. So how to be a member, you can be registered. We have a one-time lifetime membership, which is $100. You can register and you are able to join us on this boat. Jump now before it goes. So thank you so much, and I wish you a lovely weekend, and see you again next month or the month after. Thank you, and God bless you.